Hello and welcome to Automating GDPR Requests with Azure Active Directory. I'm Chris Gibbons, CEO of Privacy Central. I'm going to show you in this demonstration how to use the Privacy Central platform to automate your GDPR requests that are targeted at Azure AD. This is an instance of the Privacy Platform, that is the Soliance instance. And first thing, this is the Data Subject portal. First thing a data subject is going to do is search for an application. They are going to find the applications for a particular tenant. They will either select to send an application to the whole tenant, or they can specifically look at this particular application, in this case Azure AD. The actions that Azure AD supports, we can do a consent, query, update, and delete. And in terms of this particular instance, as it's been configured for Soliance, we can send in email searches. Being that I've the one that wrote the actual app stub for Active Directory, I can tell you that it also supports phone and address search. So we'll go ahead and say we want to submit a query, and that's going to route us over to the configure request page where we can select the information we want to send for the application to search for us to see if there are any records that exist in AD for us. Since this is the Soliance tenant that we're going to be searching against, obviously Chris at Soliance.net should actually show up. So go ahead and send this query off. The query is going to get sent off into Event Hub land, which then gets picked up by Azure Functions and then gets routed over to execute against Azure AD. So we see here we have a request, a query request, and it has been sent off to Azure AD for processing. So eventually, if we refresh this a couple times, it eventually goes to the completed status. We can then go and look at our exports, and we will see that we in fact do have an export sitting here. We can download the JSON, or we can actually go and view the result that came back. So in this case, because Azure AD we're hitting the Microsoft Graph, we are able to view the JSON that's been exported that is an object of type user. And so we'll see there's 58 different properties in here. You can expand it out and you can see the different properties that came back from AD. These can be trimmed in any particular way. If you don't want some certain properties, you can actually write some functions on the app policy side for a entity, call them entities, and you'd be able to trim these properties out if you wanted to. From there, a user, since this I can't delete this particular item because I am of certain status over in the tenant, I would not be able to submit a deletion request. If I did submit a deletion request, nothing would get deleted out of the tenant. This is the only record that came back for the Azure AD application. So that is how you would automate the sending of GDPR requests and getting the responses back to the individuals. On the actual admin side, we could go into the admin portal, search for our applications, and we would see that Azure AD is in the list. And looking at Azure AD, you can see some of the properties that are in here for this. We would allow you to set various Azure pointers, such as your tenant, domain, and tenant ID, and then some of the various properties you'd need in here to make the call, specifically the client ID and the secret to get the access token that would allow us to do the actual queries against the system. If you did not have a client ID secret created and you didn't know how to set up the right permissions, which is actually available in our help pages over in GitHub, you could enable OAuth fallback, which would then use the Privacy Central platform's client ID and secret, which you would then use to admin auth over and basically give the application access to make the queries to generate the export to hand off to data subjects. And in most cases for Azure AD, a data subject is going to be an employee. However, that is not 100% true. When you add guests to your Azure AD, they actually do go into your Azure AD, and those become guest accounts, which can be queried, and there is data in there that should be returned. So it's not always the case that Azure AD is going to be completely internal employee facing. That's the demo. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, you can always email us at sales@privacycentral.com. Thanks.